Hey there! Today I'd like to show you two different ways to add beads to your knitting. Beads make a great addition to your knitting. You can add color and weight. It's great for lace shawls. The yarn I'm using today is Dulcinea. It's one of the yarns that is used in the newest Boo Knits Mystery Knit Along. And she calls for lots and lots of beads in the new pattern. So either one of these methods would work. The first thing I'd like to show you is a cool little tool that we carry on our website called the Fleegle Beader. The Fleegle Beader comes in this nice tube. You can toss it in your knitting bag just like this. It's got the size on it. This is a 0.8 millimeter Fleegle Beader. The nice thing about this is you can take just a few beads with you. You can preload them onto the Fleegle Beader, and it's got a stopper at both ends, one to keep the beads from getting away, and the other one to cover up the tiny hook that's on this end. And you're going to use that tiny hook to place your bead. So I'll show you that. I've got some knitting here that has a row of beads placed, and I am going to place another row of beads. So I need to knit a stitch and then place a bead. So we're going to knit one, and then we come to the stitch that needs a bead. So I'm going to use the Fleegle Beader to place that bead. You take the stopper off the end that has the hook. It's really tiny. I don't know if you can see it. That little flash that you see is where the hook is. And I'm just going to use that. You come into the stitch as if to purl and lift it off the left-hand needle. Then you want to kind of hold it steady and move it toward the tip where that hook will catch it. And then you can move a bead forward and push it up and over and onto the stitch, and then place that stitch back on your left-hand needle. And then, unless the directions tell you something different, you're just going to knit that stitch normally. And your bead is placed. So I'll do one more. I need to knit a stitch and then place a bead on this next stitch. Come in and grab that stitch and lift it off. Then move it toward the tip where that little hook will catch it. Push the bead over the top, down onto the stitch, and then replace it on your left-hand needle and knit it. And that's how you place beads with the Fleegle Beader. If you don't happen to have a Fleegle Beader, you can also use a tiny crochet hook. Let's put this stopper back on so we don't lose our beads. This is a steel crochet hook. This is a 1.3 millimeter crochet hook, and I have some of the same beads here in this little tin. And if you're going to use a tiny crochet hook to place beads, you need to put the bead onto the crochet hook, and the beads need to fit onto the crochet hook and sit back from the tip with the hook a little bit, because you're going to use it to do the same thing as the Fleegle Beader. So I need to knit a stitch, get to the next stitch that I'm going to place a bead on. So there's the next stitch. So you take your crochet hook and lift off that stitch that you want to place the bead on. Slide the stitch down toward the end and let the crochet hook hold it while you push that one bead over the top down onto the stitch, and then replace it on your left hand needle and knit it. I'll do one more. So I'll knit a stitch. There's the next stitch that needs a bead. Take your tiny crochet hook and put on a bead. Use the little hook to lift off the stitch as if to purl. Hold on to the stitch. Take it down to the end, hold it, push that bead over the top, and replace the stitch on your left hand needle and knit. If you haven't ever used beads in your knitting, you might want to give one of these methods a try. They can be beautiful and add some lovely drape to your shawls, especially in lace knitting. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll give putting beads into your knitting a try.